Welcome to Impact Under the Big Sky, Stories of Philanthropy in Montana. This podcast is brought to you by the Montana Community Foundation, where our mission is to cultivate a culture of giving so Montana communities can flourish. Join us as we share inspiring stories of generosity, innovation, and impact from across the Treasure State. From rural towns to bustling cities, we'll explore how philanthropy is shaping Montana's future. One gift, one grant, and one story at a time.
Mary, it is so great that you can join us today. I know we have waited for weeks to be able to sit down and have this interview about MCF's podcast.
So exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, so Mary Rutherford, CEO and president of the Montana Community Foundation. That's a big title and a big role.
Thank you. Yeah, it can be a lot of fun. Yeah.
It can be a lot of fun. And I think that's what you and I were talking about before this started. You know, it's like we get the question a lot, what do we do, right? Or what does the Montana Community Foundation do? And depending on who you ask, it varies. But Mary, for anyone listening today, what would you say your role and responsibilities here at MCF entail?
I have the incredible pleasure and privilege of working kind of in the middle of our infinity symbol between our board and our staff to help make possibilities come true for Montana through philanthropy. And so I get to work with our board as our board sets the strategic direction of our organization. And I get to work with our incredibly talented team of staff to help actually realize those big goals and big dreams and big objectives.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot. So literally, you're in the sweet spot of like infinite possibilities.
Yes.
And I think that's part of what makes it so fun, right? Like we're not in this industry where there's only a couple narrow pathways to go. We get to explore a lot of rural roads.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I know you and I spend a lot of time on the road, a lot of windshields and a lot of oil changes as we were discussing, but it's so we can get out to the people and really hear what it is they need. So, Mary, what would you say are the driving vision values, like the mission of the organization you lead?
Our mission is really to create a culture of giving in Montana so our communities can flourish. And the thing I love about that mission is we're not out there trying to affect things that we want to have happen. We know that people in our state are so generous, and we know that there's an abundance of resources, and there's also an abundance of need and disparity.
Sure.
And so we get to kind of help be that magical connection that helps people achieve their dreams through philanthropy as donors, and we get help those organizations that are working really hard on the ground to meet their missions in serving their communities and defining community however they define that, whether it's a geographic population, whether it's a specific focus area. We're here to help people. And so it's just really a privilege to be able to be where I am and helping Montana.
And you have been here a while now. How many years?
Yes, I know. Gosh,
well, you're only 30, so let's see.
I started when I was 12. No, I've been here 11 years.
11 years.
Yeah, it's
been an evolution.
It has.
And I'm sure from where you first started to where we are today, the staff has grown, right? I mean, that's one noticeable indicator.
Sure.
But what are other things that have changed in your tenure here?
You know, I think the way that we look at our work has definitely evolved over time. You know, we're no longer strictly focused on a big dollar goal. While the dollars are important and the dollars help make the magic happen, what we're really focused on is, you know, what are the things Montanans are thinking about, concerned about, worried about, challenges they're trying to solve, and how do we plug into being part of the solution to solving some of those challenges. And so, you know, the olden days, folks used to think, oh, we're just a bank. We're not a bank. We're so much more than a bank.
Yeah.
You know, and as an organization, I think one of the things that we've really prided ourselves on in the last few years is how we've worked very collaboratively across our state with other people doing similar work and addressing community needs and finding creative solutions to some of our big challenges.
Yeah, so much is happening. And, when I first learned of the Montana Community Foundation about 10 years ago, in my mind, it was all central in Helena. But that's not the case anymore.
It's not.
No,
It's
you
not.
have people working for you all over the state.
Well, we know that, I like to say it's a contact sport. We have to be out
Yeah.
in community where things are happening. And, obviously Helena is where our state capital is. And sometimes that's a positive, and sometimes people don't think that's such a positive. And so it's important to us to be more than Helena centric and to be really ingrained in communities across our state. And while our staff has grown across the state, I think even I don't want to rank importance, but another critical part of our relationships is the communities that we work with are all over our state and have been all over our state for 37 years. We've been
Right.
committed to Montana for 37 years. We're just at a point as an organization to where we can have staff working and living in places other than Helena. And I'd also say we had that far before the pandemic. But the pandemic kind of taught us all
Mm.
how possible it is to have people living and working in all kinds of locations.
All kinds of
We don't have to all
places.
be in the Helen office
Right.
together.
Yeah. And I think it brings great perspective and dialogue. And we're able, for those of us that are in different communities like myself, I'm in Pony, we're able to hear from our constituents and the people we see in the neighborhoods that we live, work, and do life in. And then we come together and can synergize with somebody on the High Line or in Eastern Montana. And so it is this beautiful recipe that you've really, cooked up.
Baked together.
Baked together, and it's working splendidly. So I guess that has me asking, and I'm sure people are thinking, well, gosh, everybody has a podcast. Why now? Why does MCF? What are your thoughts behind that, Mary?
Well, I think podcasts are just one more way that we can communicate out broadly. And I think as society's interest in learning and getting information changes, I kind of think of myself as an old lady because whenever I travel, I pick up the local newspaper.
Me
I
too.
have to read and have in my
I want to
hands
hold it.
the local newspaper, and I'm looking at the ads, and I'm looking at
I look at
what
the obits.
right, the obits, and what kid did what in what sport,
Sure.
and what happened at the city council meeting and all of those things. But that isn't the way that a lot of folks like to get their information. Many people are on the go. They're multitasking. They're trying to drive, from one location to the other, and they're killing time. And they don't like it so much when you have a book in front of you and you're
Right.
behind the wheel. You need to not use that
Right.
sense of
Unless you're the passenger.
right,
Otherwise,
right.
yeah.
So no, podcasting is just another way for us to reach people who might be interested in learning, how we can help them.
Yeah, and the work we do. And I know, I'm raising 2 teen daughters right now, and the way they digest and absorb information is vastly different than the way I did. And so it is, to your point, there's all these different ways that we can hear a story, tell a story,
Mhm.
experience something. And there is something wonderful about that human voice, and one you tune into to hear about stories. And I think, Mary, that's the part that really excites me about the work that MCF does is the families and the entities we work with. And so I thought maybe you could share a story or a highlight of, a fund that we have here that particularly rises to the top of your heart.
There are a couple, and so I'll give you both, and then the magic of editing can decide which one you want to pick. We have had a very long-standing relationship in West Yellowstone. So the West Yellowstone Community Foundation, or they call themselves the West Yellowstone Foundation, was the first of our affiliates. I think I want to say 27 years ago now.
Wow.
25, maybe 30. Anyway,
With us
within a year,
really.
yes, of
Yeah.
us being founded, they started their community foundation. It was really because of the driving force of Arnie and Steffi Siegel.
Aw.
And, Arnie and Steffi were not born in Montana. They traveled and vacationed to Montana. They had a second home in Montana, but they loved West Yellowstone so much that they made major commitments in West Yellowstone forever. And we're just really honored to be part of their partner in that process because, the West Yellowstone area has a lot of challenges
Sure.
that a lot of our rural communities have.
Mhm.
And that community foundation has risen to many of those challenges, creating transportation for the residents of West Yellowstone to get up to Bozeman when they need to go
Yeah.
get groceries or have
Or a
doctor's
medical
appointments.
appointment. Those key
Procedures.
needs.
Yes, things that are pretty critical and necessarily don't want to be driving that canyon in the winter.
No.
And so, that's just one of the great stories of what West Yellowstone Foundation did. And it was really because of the constant engagement and involvement of Arnie and Steffi Siegel. So that's a great, heartwarming story. I've gotten to know the Siegels pretty well. Arnie passed away a few years ago, but Steffi remains deeply committed to the community foundation there and the work that they're doing. So that's one example. Another one that really comes to mind is, there's nothing like losing a child or having a family tragedy. And, we have been so honored to be able to sit across the dining. I mean, you did this.
I know.
You did this.
Before you even tell me, I know what.
With
and feel it.
Yeah, with a family who, tragically lost their son. And I think we all try to make sense out of tragedy.
Yeah.
And we all try to figure out, what's next. And this family, we were able to be part of their, I think, healing process. I don't know, maybe that's a little extreme, but I feel like the role that we were able to play in honoring their son's memory through the scholarship that they created with us, that will then go on to provide academic support to students that were pursuing dreams similar to the dreams that their son was pursuing before he passed, is just super magical.
Yeah,
and
it's powerful. And I know listening to them describe it, I think it was cathartic and healing, and knowing that his legacy and impact gets to continue. And like you said, we're playing a role in helping that. But wow. Yeah.
And so from really big picture things to whole communities or whole, we work with a group of funders that have come together, foundations that have come together to start, really trying to crack this nut in mental health and figure out how we address mental health in our state and how we might be able to be part of the solution to that dilemma. Really big ideas to really specific.
Right. Like how to implement it in your communities and get that.
And we're a place, the thing I love about our work is we are a place where everyone can participate.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think, I like to think we're a think tank. We're having a lot of conversations and we're bringing a lot of ideas to the table. And I think one of your unique abilities is to kind of sift through those and elevate. And then we find, folks that are passionate and they're doing that work and they want to partner. And so we've just seen incredible things even in the 3 years I've been here, Mary.
I can't believe it's only been 3 years. It's amazing.
I know. We've lived a lifetime together and hundreds of miles together. So in the future, what stories, what subject matter do you think we'll bring to the microphone to share with our listeners?
I think we're doing everything we're doing. We're striving to do it perfectly, and we do things pretty darn well at the Community Foundation. Occasionally we'll have that was the wrong address or whatever. But generally speaking, folks can rest assured that we are a trusted partner in the process, and what we take on to do, we do really well. Looking at the future, one of the things we've just started is impact investing. And it's a huge deal for Montana. It's a huge deal for us. The fact that I like to say we're sitting on a mountain of capital at the Montana Community Foundation. We have about $200 million, just slightly less, but I like to round up.
As we should.
Right? Probably closer to 189 or something like that, but close to 200.
On a good stock market.
There you go. Yes, in investable assets. And so, my objective, almost all of the assets we have are restricted by the donor. So we're not sitting on $180 million of money that we can just grant out however we want.
Right.
Almost all of it is permanently endowed for charitable purposes that are already designated. But the control we do have is how we make investments. And so our board has committed impact investing to get into that world. And, we're starting to make loans here in Montana. We just made our very first loans, 2 loans, $1 million each, in the housing area. We know that housing is a huge issue in our state. And over time, we will have probably $10 million loaned to address some of our greatest challenges in our state. So that's something that I'm really excited about.
And you probably wouldn't have thought that way 12, 13 years ago when you first started, right? That wasn't even on your...
Right. No,
Yeah.
we had a lot of priorities and things to get taken care of. And so it's really exciting to be able to think big and dream and, think about what's possible.
And there is so much possibility. And I think with the transfer of wealth that we know is coming, depending on who you talk to, when and how, but it is here across the nation.
It is.
And how does MCF work to help better Montana through this transfer? I mean, that's going to be an exciting, fun opportunity. It
is fun. And we're seeing it every day. I mean, our philanthropy team is out in the field, as you well know. They're talking to the people who are transferring those assets from one generation to the next, and talking about what's possible in their communities and the things that they care about. And we're working really intentionally with our local community foundation partners. This year, our board has committed $1 million in incentive funding to help those local community foundations grow their endowments. Last year was our first year of a 5-year program, and they raised 4 times what we thought they were going to raise.
I know. It's incredible. The response from the community foundations are high engagement, excitement, and they just want to do more for their communities.
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
is just, I can't wait to see what's going to transpire for all of our areas in Montana.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Well, Mary, is there anything today that I didn't cover? I mean, we are this vast organization.
Yes.
But I just, I'm curious, are there any parting words or thoughts that you want to share?
I think the thing that makes the Montana Community Foundation unique from a lot of the big organizations outside of our state is we're your partners, we're your neighbors, we're meeting up with you in the grocery store, bumping into each other here and there, and we all care about this amazing place called
that
Montana.
We call home. Yeah.
And so we're here to help. And if you have brilliant ideas, reach out. We'd love to hear them. And if you have ideas that you're just curious about, reach out, because we want to be a resource.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Mary, thank you for your time today. Thank you for your commitment, both to the organization, to the state, and to philanthropy. You've left a legacy, and we're excited to see what's next.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Impact Under the Big Sky, Stories of Philanthropy in Montana, a podcast from the Montana Community Foundation. This has been a Social Flicks podcast studio production, and our podcast was written and produced by Rebecca Connors. A video version of this podcast is available on MCF's YouTube channel and on our website at mtcf.org. Stay connected with MCF by following @Montana Community Foundation on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Special thanks to our listeners and supporters for helping us share the stories that impact our community. Join us next time as we continue to explore the heart of philanthropy in Montana.